More than 84 million voters, have already cast their ballots nationwide. That's a record by far for early voting. And in Texas, a new battleground state this year, at least 9 million people have already voted. And that's more than the number of votes cast in the Lone Star State 4 years ago. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now from Dallas with the latest. Marcus, it seems like suburban Dallas, one of those places where early voting is really spiking. What does that tell you? What are you hearing from voters there?
Well, yeah, hey, Terry, first of all, it's absolutely remarkable when you consider the number of votes that have already been cast in this election. And in a state that historically, relatively speaking, has had lower voter turnout. That is not the case this year, this election cycle. And I was in Rockwall, Texas, earlier today, which is a city about 30 miles, about 30 minutes east of Dallas. And I was talking to voters there. And one woman told me she voted early because for a couple of reasons. Number one, she wanted to avoid the crowds, and she was also concerned about mailing in her ballot because of everything she's been hearing about potential delays and there not being a guarantee, she said, that her vote would actually count. And so, Terry, that's one of the reasons why she voted as soon as she could. And on the first day of early voting here in Texas, she said she saw lines wrapped around the building in her city, and so she waited to go the next day. And with COVID, with its strong grip on the country right now, she certainly does not want to go on actual election day, fearing the large crowds on that day.
Makes good sense for her. So also going to the other end of the spectrum, more than 1 million young voters between the ages of 18 and 19, the youngest of voters really, have already voted in Texas. How important is that youth vote? How might it break down?
Well, that youth vote, Terry, is critical for any campaign, and we've seen the youth vote pick up. In 2018, it was during the midterm elections. It was a significant part of the electorate, and here in Texas, both campaigns are trying to seize on that young vote, really for the future of their party and their campaigns in the years to come. And we have seen enthusiasm on the part of young people here, and some of the issues that appear to be driving young people to the polls this election cycle are issues with the climate change and also the economy and certainly social issues that have seen young people all across this country taking to the streets, and they want their voices to be heard on November 3rd.
No question about it. Now, Senator Kamala Harris, vice presidential candidate for the Democrats, she's on the campaign trail. They're in Texas today. That's a bold move in the final days. Where's she going and why?
It is a bold move, Terry. I mean, consider, you know this, the last time a major campaign, Democratic candidate for president visited Texas in the final stretch was back in 1992, and that was Bill Clinton. And so that gives you a sense of how significant it is that Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris, would be coming here to Texas on a day like today. She was speaking in Fort Worth. That was her first stop in Texas earlier today. She spoke to a crowd of about 3,000 people. Practicing social distancing there, and she's expected to go to the Rio Grande Valley, which is in the southern tip of Texas, and also make a stop in Houston today. So a busy day for the Biden-Harris camp, and certainly an extraordinary moment for anyone who's followed politics here in the state of Texas, because for so many decades, Terry, Texas for the GOP has been a foregone conclusion. And when you look at the analysis and the polls so far in this election cycle, it seems like that gap has been closing, and that the race here will be incredibly close.
That's it. Marcus Moore there in Texas, which ABC News has now put in the toss-up category. Thanks.